Arrival of the Quiet One. The Galactic Combat Academy wasn't just a school, it was a crucible. Nestled in orbit around the mineral-rich moon of Vaskara 9, the Academy was where the galaxy's strongest, smartest, and most ruthless warriors came to be forged into weapons of war. It was where alliances were tested, rivalries born, and weaknesses mercilessly exposed. And for the first time in its 300-cycle history, humans were among the candidates. Most cadets from the older species didn't think much of them. Primitive apes with a short lifespan and big mouths, muttered Commander Threx of the Drasheen, watching the human delegation step off the shuttle. They break so easily. The humans stepped off in single file, tall, short, muscular, lean, displaying Earth's diverse physiology. Most held their heads high, eyes scanning their new environment, trying not to show fear. One didn't bother with any of that. At the rear of the group, a small, pale girl moved without urgency. She wore the standard Academy black jumpsuit like everyone else, but there was something different about her, a kind of eerie stillness. Her name was Leah Miles, and from the moment she arrived, she spoke to no one. In the first week, the instructors took notice. Not because she did anything wrong. On the contrary, she followed every command, passed every obstacle, and filed every report. But she did it all in silence. No complaints, no chatter, not even the smallest grunt during grueling physical drills. "Does she even speak?" asked drill instructor Gorin, a Kolari ex-gladiator, during a midweek assessment. "She does," replied the human officer escort. "When necessary. She's stunted emotionally," barked a Vordai cadet. "Just look at her. She's got dead eyes." The Vordai laughed, guttural, bark-like sounds echoing across the training arena. Leah didn't react. She simply sat on the mat, cross-legged, eyes focused straight ahead. It was as if she didn't hear them. Or worse, as if they were beneath notice. Despite her silence, she was competent. Her scores in hand-to-hand simulations were average, her weapons' accuracy acceptable, and her agility exceptional. Still, nothing about her performance screamed threat. Most wrote her off as an anomaly, a quiet, low-tier recruit who'd wash out before the term ended. But not everyone was fooled. Commander Zevin, a half-cybernetic instructor who'd once led extermination campaigns across 3-star systems, requested Leah's full profile. What he got was a single screen. Name, Leah Miles. Origin, Earth Sector 9 Delta. Background, cleared, level 7. Combat history, classified. Family, deceased, status, unknown. Notes, observer's clearance required for full psychometric access. Level 7. Zevin muttered, frowning. Why would a silent rookie cadet be locked behind a war-level clearance? He flagged it for review but received a single-word message from Earth's embassy later that cycle. Denied. 3 days later, during a multi-species combat simulation, the Vordai cadet Zurich, a towering brute engineered from apex predator DNA, mocked Leah openly. "Why's the mute here?" he growled, gesturing at her across the training mat. "She's dead weight." Leah didn't flinch. She didn't look at him. She simply stood where she was told to stand, waited for the instructors to begin the drill, and responded with the same quiet obedience she had since day one. The mockery continued, building each day. "She's afraid," sneered another cadet. "I bet she's never even been in a real fight." "Human girls break like paper," Zurich laughed. Still, Leah said nothing, not even a glance. But someone noticed the flicker, the smallest tightening in her jaw on that last comment. Instructor Zevin, watching from the upper gallery, narrowed his eyes. There was something in her silence that wasn't passivity. It was patience. And in a place like the Galactic Combat Academy, patience was more terrifying than rage. Apex Challenge. Combat class was the heart of the Academy. It was where reputations were made and crushed. Every species had its own style. The brutal bone breaks of the Kolari, the venom-fast strikes of the Drasheen, the four-limbed grapples of the Threll. Students were paired up in drills, with rotating partners, to simulate the unpredictability of real combat. The Vordai dominated these matches. Their kind were bred for war, literally. Taller than most species, heavily muscled, and conditioned from birth, The Vordai were apex fighters in the most literal sense. And Zurich, top cadet among them, was their pride. His record was spotless. No sparring partner had lasted longer than a minute with him. One Drasheen cadet still hadn't returned to training after a dislocated spine. It was mid-cycle when Zurich grew bored. "I need something challenging," he growled, standing in the center of the ring, his red training armor glinting under the overhead lights. "Anyone else want to bleed for me?" he taunted, arms wide. His squad laughed, but the instructors stayed silent. Rules prohibited excessive force in friendly spars, but no one enforced that when it came to the Vordai. It was an open secret. Zurich fought however he wanted, and no one dared stop him. "Come on," he barked. "Drasheen? Kolari? Even one of those blue-furred Threll? No. What about the humans?" A few humans shifted uncomfortably at the back of the room. "Come on. Surely Earth didn't send all weaklings and cowards." Leah stepped forward. The room froze. She moved without hesitation, walked straight into the center of the mat, and faced Zurich. No words, no change in expression. The instructors exchanged glances. Even Zevin leaned forward slightly from the gallery above. This wasn't on the roster. She hadn't been selected. She volunteered. "You?" Zurich laughed, genuinely amused. "You've never even moved in these classes." Leah blinked once. "Permission to engage," she said quietly, speaking for the first time in days. Instructor Gorin hesitated. "Cadet, are you sure?" "I accept," Zurich interrupted, grinning. "Let's see what the fragile ape can do." Leah turned slightly. "Instructor, request noted." "I am sure." There was a moment of silence. Then the gong sounded. The fight began. Zurich wasted no time. He charged forward with terrifying speed for someone his size, swinging a left strike designed to snap her ribs. The audience leaned in, already anticipating the sound of bones breaking. But it didn't come. Leah wasn't there. She moved sideways, not dodging with desperation, but gliding, like she'd known exactly where he would strike. Zurich's fist hit air. His smile faltered. He twisted, lashing out with a follow-up strike. A downward blow meant to crush her shoulder. Leah ducked, pivoted on one foot, and slid behind him. Then it happened. One strike to the back of his knee. A nerve cluster. His leg buckled. A second, sharp and precise, under his armpit. Paralytic point. The third, a palm to the base of the neck. A faint crack echoed. Zurich collapsed. Face first. Unconscious. 7 seconds. Silence. A vacuum seemed to suck the breath from the room. Even a Vordai squad was stunned. Zurich, the undefeated, was out cold, sprawled on the mat like a rag doll. Leah stepped back, adjusted her sleeve, and looked at the instructor. "Match complete," she said calmly, awaiting further orders. No one responded. Zevin stood slowly in the observation deck, eyes wide. "Play back that footage," he muttered to the tech beside him. Slow motion. All angles. Instructor Gorin finally found his voice. "You, what? Where did you learn those techniques?" Leah didn't answer right away. Then, flatly, "Earth." The Vordai began to stir, some growling, others staring at Zurich like they didn't recognize him. Their pride had just been shattered by a silent girl who barely spoke and hadn't thrown a punch all term. Until now. One Kolari whispered. She didn't even blink. Leah turned, walking off the mat as calmly as she'd walked onto it. Zurich hadn't landed a single hit. And now, the entire academy knew. Earth had been underestimated. But not anymore. Without blinking. The duel was over. Zurich of the Vordai had been defeated. Not bested, not outmaneuvered. Utterly and efficiently dismantled in front of the entire academy. The room remained in stunned silence long after Leah stepped off the mat, her expression unchanged. A medical drone hovered over Zurich's limp body, scanning the damage. Reports flickered onto a nearby hollow display. Concussive trauma, neural disruption, spinal shock, temporary paralysis likely. The injuries were non-lethal. Precise. Controlled. Too precise. She could have killed him, muttered Zevin from the observation deck. She chose not to. Instructor Gorin nodded, pale for the first time in a decade. That wasn't just human military training. That was Tier 9 kill zone technique. Who trained her? The answer was buried behind Earth's classified clearance codes, the kind only war councils and shadow fleets had access to. But anyone who had fought on a battlefield long enough knew Leah hadn't just trained to fight. She had trained to eliminate. The academy buzzed with whispers. Rumors spread like plasma fire. Did you hear? She dropped him in 7 seconds. No, it was 5. I timed it. She didn't even flinch when he charged her. Like she knew exactly what he'd do. The Vordai, once the loudest voices in the arena, were now silent. Their pride lay bruised and humiliated in the med bay, recovering under the care of 5 specialized healers. Zurich had not regained consciousness for over an hour. That night, Leah walked alone through the training halls. The metallic corridors echoed with her footsteps. Others gave her space now, not out of respect, but fear. Even some instructors avoided her gaze. She was no longer the quiet girl from Earth. She was something else. She found an empty mat in a private practice room and began her routine. No weapons, just movement. Fluid, minimal, perfect. Every step had purpose. Every strike ended with lethal intent, but controlled follow-through. She wasn't showing off. She was maintaining discipline, just as she had been taught. Impressive, said a voice. Leah paused. A figure stepped into the doorway. Commander Zevin, cybernetic eye glowing faintly. He didn't smile, didn't threaten, just watched her. Most cadets would be celebrating right now. You humiliated the strongest warrior in the class. Leah turned to face him, breathing steady. Celebration wastes energy. He nodded. What you did today will shift perceptions of humanity across half the galaxy. I didn't do it for perception, she replied. He insulted Earth. Zevin's artificial eye clicked softly as it adjusted. Tell me something, Cadet Miles. Who taught you to fight like that? She hesitated. Then, my father, and others like him. Zevin's tone lowered. Black programs. I was raised in silence. Learned to kill before I could read. Emotions were weaknesses. Hesitation, failure. He stared at her. Why are you here? She looked past him toward the sparring mat. To prove we belong. A long silence followed. Then Zevin gave a slow nod. You've done more than that. The next morning, Leah was summoned to a council chamber. It wasn't a disciplinary hearing. It was something else. A projection of Earth's ambassador flickered into view. Leah Miles. We've received dozens of offers. Advanced training units from Threll, Kolari, even Vordai High Command. You're now marked for priority observation. Every species is watching what you do next. Leah stood at attention, unmoved. I have no interest in their training. Then what do you want? Leah's gaze hardened. To make sure no one ever mocks my planet again. The ambassador was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. Understood. Elsewhere, Zurich awoke in the medical wing. He groaned, trying to sit up, but pain flared across his spine. A nurse pushed him gently back down. You're lucky, she said. She didn't go for a kill strike. Zurich clenched his jaw. She was nothing. No sound. No warning. Just, his voice broke off. Fear. Real fear. For the first time in his life. She moved like she knew everything before it happened. The nurse paused. Maybe she did. Later that day, Leah returned to group drills. No one challenged her. No one spoke to her. The other cadets gave her space. And even the loudest species remained quiet. And still, she said nothing. She trained. She observed. And when no one watched too closely, she smiled, just a little. The galaxy watches now. Weeks passed, and Leah's name became legend inside the academy. Cadets whispered about her behind hands and telepathic links. Entire simulation classes shifted their training modules based on her recorded combat performance. Even instructors adjusted how they taught, incorporating her encounter with Zurich as a case study in unpredictable threat vectors. But Leah remained the same. Silent, observant, precise. She trained alone, ate alone, slept little. She had no interest in social hierarchy, no need to prove anything further. She had done what she came to do. Now she was waiting for something bigger, and that opportunity came faster than expected. The Inter-Academy Joint Combat Trials were announced, an elite event held once per standard year, where the top cadets from different species were selected to represent their kind. These trials weren't for grades or honor. They were auditions for real war. The audience? High command generals, mercenary guild recruiters, shadow fleets, even covert alien syndicates sent observers. The trial teams were formed by species. Kolari with Kolari, Drasheen with Drasheen. Everyone assumed humans would be grouped together, weaker, slower, less experienced. But this year, the Academy did something different. They sent Leah alone. She would not represent Earth with a team. She would represent Earth as a solo entrant. Against squads, even her own people protested. "This isn't fair," said Lieutenant Markov, a human officer. "She's one cadet. They're sending her against full units." But Commander Zevin overruled it. "She's more than a unit. She's a message." The arena was vast. A simulated combat zone layered with jungle, ruined cities, and underground tunnels. Drones monitored every movement. Spectators from across the galaxy watched on a secure stream. The rules were clear. Last team standing wins. Leah stood alone at the entrance tunnel. No armor, no weapons, just the standard black combat uniform and a small multi-tool clipped to her belt. Opposite her, the Kolari squad flexed and cracked knuckles. The Vordai team rumbled, already vowing revenge for Zirich's shame. The Threll hung in the shadows, whispering strategy with their four tongues. And Leah? She closed her eyes. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, begin. What happened next would ripple through military networks for years. She didn't charge. She vanished, slipped into the terrain like smoke. The first Kolari went down in less than a minute, found unconscious with his arm locked behind his back and a toxin patch over his neck. Then the Threll started dropping, disoriented, confused, fighting shadows. Their internal coordination collapsed as Leah hijacked their comm signals using a jerry-rigged scanner made from scrap. She laid traps, turned the environment against them, lured two Vordai into an ancient tunnel, and collapsed it behind her, trapping them. It was surgical, cold, beautiful. Within 22 minutes, Leah was the only one standing. Not a scratch on her. The judges were stunned. Combat analysts watched replays over and over, unable to find a single wasted movement. One said, "She turned a solo disadvantage into battlefield superiority. That's not tactics. That's art." Another, "She's not reacting. She's orchestrating." Back on Earth, news of the victory broke into the public feed. The caption read, "Human girl defeats entire combat trial solo without blinking." Later, in the debriefing chamber, a high-ranking official from the Vordai Dominion requested a private audience. He stood 3 times Leah's height and wore ceremonial armor etched with battles centuries old. "You shame us with your efficiency," he said. "But I respect it." Leah said nothing. "You are not like your people." She met his eyes for the first time. "I am exactly like my people. You just never looked closely." He left without further comment. Zevin found her in the observation wing that night, alone, overlooking the stars. "You know what comes next," he said. Leah nodded. "They'll test me, or try to use me, or fear you. I'm used to that." He chuckled. "Do you feel pride, Cadet Miles?" She thought for a long moment. "No, I feel calm, like the galaxy just saw us for the first time." Zevin placed a hand on the railing beside her. They did. Across 1,000 systems, young recruits now whispered of Earth in reverent tones. No longer as a joke, no longer with derision, but with awe. They didn't understand how she did it. They only knew she did. Quiet, deadly, unblinking.